Dear Diary, it's me, Dancing Dawn. It's been forever since I wrote to you, and the truth is, I've been avoiding you. I feel so terrible, dear Diary, but I have a confession to make. A few weeks ago, Dancing Gary came over. I know Dancing Gary is supposed to be spending lockdown at his place, and everyone's supposed to be avoiding each other like the plague. And that's what this coronavirus is. Actually, everyone calls it COVID-19 now, which sounds even more science fiction-y and scary. But it does feel like a plague. People are sick and dying and freaking out and hiding inside their homes, and there's no cure. Also, there's like no toilet paper. But anyway, a few weeks ago, Dancing Gary called and said that he wanted to come by to pick up his guitar, which was actually ridiculous and super bullshitty because Dancing Gary doesn't really even play guitar. He just carries it around with him so that people think he's some kind of a cool guitar player. He's a total poser, like people who walk around with a copy of A Brief History of Time, which we all know no one actually ever reads or understands, probably including Stephen Hawking. But I'd been really lonely in lockdown, and I guess I figured one little visit would be okay. I mean, even bad company is company. So he came over to collect his guitar, and he asked me if he'd also left any beer behind. I didn't find any, but I did find a bottle of Captain Morgan spiced gold rum left over from a dance party right before lockdown. I know I shouldn't have, but I asked Dancing Gary if he wanted to have a drink. Of course he said yes. I didn't have Coke because, ew, the calories, so we mixed Captain Morgan and Tab. I'm not really a rum person, but wow, those subtle notes of vanilla and caramel and cinnamon. Anyway, 10 Roman tabs later, I was making bad choices, and Dancing Gary was spending the night. It was so stupid because I wasn't even that into it. I mean, Dancing Gary is objectively super hot, but he's not, attractive. He's actually really unattractive when you get to know him. In the morning, he left with his guitar, and I told him this could not happen again, and we really had to practice safe social distancing. Then, a week or so later, I started to feel really tired and weird, and I was like, oh my God, what if I'm pregnant? That would be a complete disaster. So I Instacarted a pregnancy test and a bunch of toilet paper from Duane Reade, because by some miracle, they actually had toilet paper in stock. And thank God the test was negative. Although, not to be conceited, but Dancing Gary and I would make an amazingly good-looking kid. But, oh my God, what if it had Dancing Gary's personality? Anyway, I brought some toilet paper to my neighbor Barbie. She's pretty old and super sweet and all alone except for her cats. She doesn't get around much anymore, but she looks amazing for an old person. When I'm her age, I totally want her Botox guy. So even though I was relieved not to be with child, especially Dancing Gary's child, over the next couple of days I started feeling worse. I was hot and achy, I had a cough, and I was so tired. I couldn't even dance. Then Dancing Gary texted me, "Hey, I've got the Rona. You should get tested." I called him immediately, and I was like, okay, first of all, the Rona? Everyone knows it's called COVID-19 now, Dancing Gary. And second of all, you're breaking this news to me by text? And he was like, oh, chill, it's not a big deal. It's just like a cold. It's not the plague or something. And I was like, it is a big deal. And you know what, Dancing Gary? You're a plague. And I hung up. He's such an asshole. So I went to my urgent care, which I thought would be like a scene out of Contagion or something, but it was pretty quiet. Just a lot of plastic everywhere and people in masks. But I was dreading the COVID-19 test. The test itself was so gross. The swab thing was like that tool they used to pull brains out of people's heads through their noses in ancient Egypt. I was pretty worried the swab would touch my brain, but it didn't, as far as I know. After 5 days, I finally got the test results. Well, everybody warned me that I'd probably catch something from Dancing Gary one day, and everybody was right. I caught COVID-19, the coronavirus, from Dancing Gary. The doctor told me I had to quarantine for 2 weeks, so I've been staying in bed mostly, just like a blob in a bathrobe. I can't taste anything, and I probably smell so bad from not showering, but thank God I've lost my sense of smell too. I do worry about infecting Wanda, but I figure she's probably pretty safe in her fishbowl. The good news is, dear diary, I do think I'm finally starting to feel a bit better now. My throat is still super scratchy and I still can't dance, but I can read a little, and yesterday I even watched a movie. Bergman, of course, The Seventh Seal. Again, it's my absolute favorite plague movie. So last night it was so weird. I had this wild Seventh Seal dream, straight out of that iconic scene where the knight plays chess with death. And just like in the movie, I was at a gloomy beach and the water was kind of crazy and I was sitting on a rock. But instead of playing chess, I was doing Wordle on my tablet. I had just put my first word down when this dark figure approached and I was like, oh shit, it's Death. But it wasn't Death. It was Dancing Gary. So I invited him to play Wordle with me, but he was like, you mean Nerdle? No thanks. And I was like, you know what, Dancing Gary? I'd rather be a nerd than an asshole. Then I put down my second word and I got Wordle in too. I was so excited. And then my friends appeared and took me by the hand and led me away. And we danced across this hill, but not to death or anything like in the movie, just away from Dancing Gary. It was exhilarating. And then I woke up. I'll have to think about what this dream might mean. I'd ask Glory and Dale about it in our next Zoom chat, but they've forbidden me from talking about Dancing Gary, and I'm really trying to honor that. I'd better stop here, dear diary. I have zero energy. This really is a plague. But in the words of the great Gloria Gaynor, I will survive. And as soon as I'm fully recovered, I'm going right back to my self-improvement regime, and I'll be a better Dancing Dawn, making better choices. Signing off for now. Love, Dancing Dawn.